Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to synchronize your alarms with Home Assistant using iOS shortcuts. So the goal of this tutorial is to only set up your iPhone alarms, for example, and after everything will be automatically sent to Home Assistant. We will use the label of the alarms to trigger specific automations. So at the end, it doesn't matter how many alarms you have, they all will be triggered at the same time. So first, I will show you a simple diagram to make it easier to understand. So here is the scenario. First, you start by setting up your alarms. After, they will be automatically sent to Home Assistant. Inside Home Assistant, we will filter by label, for example, work, coffee, or weekend. After that, there will be the delays calculation. And for the action, we will do a smooth wake up. So 5 minutes before the alarm, we will start turning on a LED strip. And at the alarm time, we will turn on the sailing light. With this automation, you will never miss your alarms. So first, we will create the shortcut. The first action will be to find all alarms. We filter to take only the enabled one. Next, we create a loop and we add each item in a text block. For this step, it is important to do exactly like me to avoid any format issues. Make sure to use each repeated item like me. After, if the variable doesn't have any value, that means there is no alarm enabled, so we will send a deactivation boolean. To make sure we have a valid JSON format sent to Home Assistant, we will use a dictionary. Add the entity ID. You can choose the same name as me or another one, but it has to begin with input boolean. Add a Home Assistant call service and search for boolean. Now we want to deactivate this signal when there is no alarm enabled, so we have to choose turn off. So next, if at least one alarm is enabled, we have to send it to Home Assistant. To do so, first add a combined text action and choose custom. Add a comma as separator. Basically, what we want is to combine all the alarms and send them at once. Make sure to do exactly like me to avoid any format issues. Then we will use a dictionary to send the alarms. In this case, we will send the text data, so we will use input text. After, if you have at least one alarm, we also have to activate the boolean we turned off before and send it back to Home Assistant. Now our shortcut is finished. If you want to see the dictionary, you can add a show content action, for example. Next, we will go to Home Assistant. First, I will create a new dashboard. In my Home Assistant, I have Visual Studio installed. So first, I have to modify the Yaml file to match the variable I used in the shortcut. To do so, in my configuration, I include multiple Yaml files like input boolean, input text, and template, for example. We will modify those three. First, go to the input boolean and add the same boolean you defined in the shortcut. Next, go to the input text and add the same text variable that contains the alarms. In the template YAML, we will create a new sensor we will use in our automation. For the sensor, the state will just mirror the raw value from the input text. I will also add an attribute that will parse the JSON so we can use the alarm data in a structured way in our automations. For the attribute, I will add a default empty JSON array in case the input text is empty or invalid, to avoid any errors. Now we have finished our configuration. We can reload the YAML files. For the test, I will filter all entities with tuto and put them in my dashboard. I will create a new alarm in my clock app and use the shortcut to send it. Here I already have some values because I made some tests before this video. I will change the value to see if it's correctly sent. Okay, now it's working. Everything seems to work as expected. Next, I will create an automation to automatically send the alarms to Home Assistant when I close the app. Now I will test the automation. Perfect. Perfect. Now we begin the main part. For the automation, I choose to do it in Node-RED. I like Node-RED because it's visual and better for complex automations. I will first test if the alarms are correctly received in Node-RED. You can also do exactly like me. First, I will deploy just to refresh Node-RED and make sure the variables from my Yaml files are available. So the values are received. Here I add a debug node, but actually it's normal to not see the values. I forgot to add a condition here. The errors I got come from another flow. So now we can continue the automation. I will only use basic blocks like split or delay. To handle the JSON received, I will create a function. Here also, you can do exactly like me. The goal of this function is to filter the alarms by label and to calculate the delay for each one before they are triggered. So I get the hour and minute of each alarm. Then I create another date variable using the same hour and minutes. I add an if statement to check if the alarm time has already passed. In that case, it means it's an alarm for the next day, so I will add Monday. The function will return the alarm time and the delay before it triggers. For the delay calculation, we just subtract the current time from the alarm time. So basically, after the function, I will have an array of alarms and delays. When I was testing the function, I got errors. So you can add this code to double check if the input of the function is already in the right format. For the delay setup, we will override the delay with message delay. Actually, after the split, the format has changed. We need another function just to format the message and send the correct values to the delay block. I need the split because we have an array of alarms and we want to handle each one of them individually. Without the split, the delay block can handle only one alarm at a time. For the second function, you can also do the same as me. This function is just to format the message after the split to match what the delay block needs. In the second function, I will also create a second output. The second output will be the alarm delay minus 5 minutes. Then I create a second delay for this output. Now we can do the actions. You first get the state of the light. If the light was on, I will turn it off. If it was off, I will make it gradually increase to max over 5 minutes. I use a color temperature of 1800 Kelvin. It's like the color of a sunrise. I use a transition of 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes. Sorry, I made a mistake because the LED strip has to turn on 5 minutes earlier, so I will move it down. I have an IKEA LED strip and I use liquid MQTT, so to make the light gradually increase, I will need 2 blocks. And I will do the same for the ceiling light. Now we can test everything. I will add the light to the dashboard. Actually, 5 minutes is too long for testing. I will change it to 1 minute just for test. Actually, I forgot to reset the delay blocks when there are no alarm enabled. You can use the input boolean and check when it's off to send a reset message. For the test, it's 8:46 p.m. right now. I will set two alarms at 8:48 p.m. and 8:50 p.m. for example. So here the next step was already on because it has to turn on 1 minute before the alarm at 8:47 p.m. So I will wait for the ceiling light to turn on at 8:48 p.m. Perfect, it's on at the same time as the alarm. The next step has to turn on 1 minute earlier at 8:49 p.m. Perfect. Now we wait for the second alarm. The ceiling light has to turn on at 8:50 p.m. Perfect. I go back to Node-RED. I see the reset of the delays is not working. It's because I didn't use the boolean. Now it should work. Perfect, now it's working. And at the end, I will put back 5 minutes. If you want to use multiple labels, for example coffee, to turn off your coffee machine, you just need to duplicate the function and filter by coffee, for example. I think you get the idea. With this tutorial, you can use multiple alarms and use labels to trigger specific actions. I hope it was helpful. I put the files in the description if you want to download them. Thank you and take care.